Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be playing around with some alcohol inks to create some backgrounds for some cards. And I'm going to be using the Distress Marker Spritzer tool, which is this black funny looking tool that I have here. And I just jumped right into the backgrounds because we're going to create 3. So I did share all of the backgrounds in the video. And usually one of the greatest techniques to do with these inks is to use a strong kind of blow on them when you add the color to the paper. And that helps to move that ink around. But unfortunately, when I tried to do that, I kind of got pretty lightheaded when I first started and was pretty sure I was going to pass out. So I decided that that was probably not the safest way to do this. And I kind of just looked around my craft room for something that I thought would work to kind of blow air on the ink. And this actually works really well to do that. So I wanted to kind of share how I created 3 different backgrounds using a bunch of different inks with this tool. So the surface that I'm applying the ink to is called Yupo paper, which is a specialty paper. It almost feels like plastic, and you can get this in a transparent finish or white. And I'm using the white here, which I think really helps to amplify the colors of the different alcohol inks. So I'm just taking a random bunch of colors here and I'm just dropping the color onto this paper, and I'm also using the mixing solution as well, which helps to kind of thin the color out and also helps to get it to move around the surface. And I'm not really doing anything specific here. I kind of had a color scheme in mind when I started this one. I wanted to have some purples, teals, and pinks. And then I also decided to add in a little bit of a grayish brown. I believe the color is called Pebbles. I thought it would look nice to bring a more natural color into the palette just to kind of mix with all of these really bright colors I have going on here. Now in the final card, which I'll show you at the end, I don't think I even really got a lot of that neutral kind of grayish brown color on the finished card, but I really liked how it looked on this whole entire panel as a whole. I thought it blended really nice with the colors. Now I'm just about done here with the main colors, and I'm going to go in now with some silver mixative. So this is a really metallic finish type alcohol ink. And when you add this one and then you put some mixing solution with it, it really helps to break up that color and let it really move on the surface. So you can see I'm kind of adding a little drop of the silver, and then I'm adding the solution over top, the mixing solution. And then I'm taking that spritzer tool and I'm just kind of forcing the air over top of it to really get that silver to move. Now for this one, I wanted really big areas of the silver mixative. That's one thing you want to be careful when you're using that, is that metallic look is really going to overpower the whole panel if you apply a lot of it. So you can see here as I'm adding this, I have a lot of that silver kind of overtaking the whole panel. But for this one, I really wanted that silver to be the star of the show, and this one ended up being my favorite out of the 3 panels I'm going to create. I'm not sure if it's the blend of colors that I got with this one, because I really like how all of these colors kind of interacted, or if it's that really bright pop of silver. So you will see that one on a finished card at the end here. I just set that one aside to dry. And then this one here, I didn't realize my camera wasn't recording when I first started it, but it's the exact same thing I was doing on the first one. But for this one, I decided to only use aquas, blues, and greens. So I have a really dark shade of green with a lighter one, and then I have a few different shades of aqua and turquoises. So for this one, I did the same thing. I added all the blues and greens first, and then I came in with that silver mixative once again. I wanted to see how the silver looked with these more earthy tone colors, the greens and blues versus the really bright pinks and purples. And I did add a little bit less to this one. I didn't put as much of the silver on here. So in the finished card, you don't notice it as much as you do in the first one I created. Now, when I do work with the alcohol inks, I like to have a paper towel beside me. I don't love the look of when the mixing solution kind of drops there. You can see you end up with like some really harsh lines. I don't really love that look on a finished piece, so I like to kind of dab that up with a paper towel. And it does work as long as the alcohol ink is still pretty wet. It will kind of pick up that color and just helps to soften the overall look up a bit. So now I'm moving on to the last panel here, and once again I'm still working on that same white Yupo paper. This technique will also work really nice on glossy white paper, so if you have that, try it out on that one as well. And for this one here, I kept this one the most simple. I'm using some limited colors. I have a couple of pinks, reds, and purples. I didn't want to have a whole lot of color contrast in this one. And I'm not using any of the mixative either. I decided to leave this one just straight color without any of that metallic kind of mixing in. And I'm just doing the exact same technique once again and dropping that color in. I am kind of letting the areas of color stay larger, so I don't have as much color all over the panel as I did in the earlier ones. I wanted to have larger areas of the pink and red and then some areas of the purple just to kind of add that contrasting color. And because the Yupo paper that I'm working on here is a little bit larger than an A2 size card base, you don't necessarily have to fill the whole panel. I like to, just because I like to have the option of where I want to die cut the piece that I'm going to use on the card front. But because it is bigger, you can definitely just kind of pick an area and just work in that area. And if you're not going to use the whole panel, so you just want to cut like a heart or a shape out of it, then you can definitely even use less space if you know that that's what you're going to be doing. So to finish this one off, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm using my paper towel to dab off some of the really dark areas. And now I'm letting all three dry, and then I'm going to come back here now with the finished cards. So I kept everything pretty simple, so I didn't show the creation of the cards. I just matted the pieces that I had die cut with a stitch rectangle, and I put it onto tropical teal cardstock and then layered it onto a white card base and added the white thanks die cut on top. For this one, I die cut it from a larger of the stitch rectangle dies and just added it directly to the white card base with no cardstock mat. And then I added the die cut word hugs to that one. And then for this last one here, which is my absolute favorite, I love how this one turned out. I just matted the panel onto some Summer Splash cardstock and then added it to a white card base, added the Celebrate word die as well as a sentiment strip with the sentiment stamped onto it, and then that completed that card. So there is 3 different ways to use alcohol inks and the marker spritzer distress tool to kind of move that ink around to create some really fun, unique backgrounds. The great thing I love about alcohol inks is you're never going to get the same look twice, and you never kind of know what you're going to end up with. So it's a lot of fun to just play around with the colors and the mixatives and see what you end up with. So thanks so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in another one soon. Thanks for watching.